Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, what condition my condition was in.
Alon! Sure, Mark Kotze had let JT Ginn in the game or stay in the game when his no-hitter was broken up?
No. I think that's kind of the rule, right? No hitter gets broken up. You take someone out.
That's what I think as well. Well, you know what? He was going deep into the game. So if you don't know what we're talking about, the other night, JT Ginn of the A's was pitching a no-hitter. And then first batter in the bottom of the ninth breaks up the no-hitter. And usually the rule of thumb is you take the pitcher out of the game in that moment. And then Mark Kotze decided to leave him in the game, and he gives up a 2-run blast. A's lose 2-1. One of the more heartbreaking losses you'll see when a guy was pitching a no-hitter for the majority of the game.
Yeah. No, and it was kind of, I think the more surprising part about that game, not that we're going to talk about that a lot, but was that the A's only scored 1 run, which is not par for the course for them. Although they played the Giants almost a week ago, and the offense did not look good against the Gigantes either. So, and they're down 5-3 against the Angels after obliterating them yesterday. So the A's are starting to find that struggle part of the season right now, especially at home.
No, definitely. But yeah, that was that was definitely a gut punch. And I was thinking to myself, that happened the same night that Robbie Ray gave up a grand slam, just six pitches into the game, which is one of the quicker moments where you give up a 4-0 lead with only 6 pitches. And I gotta think, what's worse, to give up that amount of runs early on in a game and lose 12-2, or the agonizing defeat of having an almost perfect or almost a no-hitter and then giving up a 2-run blast in the end. So obviously JT Ginn had the more demoralizing loss there, but yeah, not a good night for Robbie Ray the other night as well.
No. Is that a record, by the way? What happened to Ray? What's the
not a record. I mean, I think Josh Dubow looked it up online, or Josh Dubow of part of the AP was asked about that. I think Adam Copeland reached out to him, and he said no. He uses Sports Radar, and going back to 2000, the other time that happened, I think, was in 2012, where either the Cardinals or the Pirates gave up that quick amount of runs with only 6 pitches into the game.
That's insane. They hit or gave up hit, and then grand slam, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a demoralizing loss for the A's on Monday night. And if you heard the call from Ginny Kavnar, I mean, she played it, very well, where it was just A's lose, but I want to hear more emotion in that call. Unlike our guy, Alon Desai, I got to say, man, you showed me this clip over the weekend. I'm going to share my screen here. This is Alon's call, by the way, everybody. Alon does play-by-play for UNLV baseball, and his call of the walk-off. When was this, Alon? Last weekend?
It was on Saturday, yeah, this past Saturday.
Hear our guy Alon with the passion in his voice for a UNLV walk-off win on last Saturday.
3-1 pitch, and Myro hits this a mile high. Does it have a walk-off victory? UNLV wins. Gunnar Myro with a massive, colossal, season-saving 2-run home run to walk us off here in Las Vegas, Nevada. The hustling Rebels win on the last conference tournament. They win 9-7. A dramatic moment here in Las Vegas, folks.
That was a fun one.
What a call, my friend. What a hell of a call. Unbelievable there.
Thank
well
you.
done.
Yeah. It was a
Give yourself
really
some
fun
praise
game,
there, Alon.
and thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, it was a fun game, and I just was saying what I was seeing out there, and yeah, they made it to the tournament, so hopefully they can win against the Air Force tomorrow and see if they can get a NCAA tournament bid. We will find out.
No, definitely. Alon, you seem a little flustered tonight, my friend. You were trying to find some hot sauce because you lost in NBA second-round pick.
There's a delay going right now, Derek. That's why. There's a delay.
What's that?
There's a delay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, my terrible internet. I'm still in the process of trying to get things going with Google Fiber. I had to cancel the appointment this morning, so hopefully next time, next podcast we get things going with my internet. Is the delay that bad?
I think it's getting better. I just lowered my resolution all the way down, so maybe if you do the same, but yeah, it seemed it was like a 20-second delay for a moment there.
Oh, was there? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, just your opinion, man. Alon to say, Derek Papa coming to you on a Wednesday night with the we're just reacting to the San Antonio Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder finishing up game 2. The Thunder tie up the series 1-1 after the thrilling game 1 that happened on Monday night. Victor Wembanyama having a game for the ages. So we'll react to that along with the game tonight. Talk a little football too, as everybody anticipated. Derek's got to react to Aaron Rodgers coming back. So we'll do a little bit of that at the end there. But a lot of NBA news. We'll talk about the playoffs, the Western Conference Finals, the Eastern Conference Finals, and maybe an assistant that we weren't anticipating being available for the Golden State Warriors. But Alon, just your thoughts. The Thunder and Spurs have tied the series up. It was going to be a heavyweight matchup going into it. The top 2 seeds in the Western Conference. I believe the Spurs beat the Thunder, I want to say 4 times the regular season. So I don't know if that was going to translate to this matchup. But game 1, all-time performance for Victor Wembanyama, 41 points, 24 rebounds. It goes to double overtime. An amazing shot where I think most of the viewing audience was like, no. Oh, my God. He made it. And tonight you knew that the Thunder had a rebound. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with 30 points. But just your thoughts on the game tonight and the game or the series so far, Alon.
Back and forth. I mean, you heard it on the broadcast multiple times, heavyweight fight. I mean, it's a great description for it. What Wemby was able to do game 1 was incredible. Haven't really I tried to think, like, when have we seen a performance like this recently, especially? I can't remember one because we haven't really had a dynamic player like him. We've never had a player at his size who can do all the different things that he can. Him being able to will that team to double overtime and then a victory, stealing home court, is amazing. And then tonight, it did look like the energy wasn't quite there. I mean, they were exhausted a little bit. I thought Wemby was early, but what killed them, I thought, was the turnovers. And they had turnover problems in game 1 too, Derek. I mean, that's about 45 now through 2 games, I think. And they had 20 or 21 tonight. So they looked a little out of control. And I think part of that is, look, who's running point for you? I mean, Harper went down as well tonight, and they have no De'Aaron Fox. So that's really rough. I mean, they're looking like a mash unit, but it's not too much better on the other side for OKC either. I mean, this is a physical series. I was happy to see SGA, though, finally come through. I mean, they kind of shut him down in game 1 at times, and then tonight he scores 30. So that's got to be good for OKC. But this is a very, very good series. I think this series is going to be more entertaining than the Knicks series, even though the Knicks series, we already saw a massive comeback. I think this one has more it's more even. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Eastern Conference Finals is not an even matchup, but an interesting matchup where I think the Knicks have more talent. But you saw last night, the Cavaliers were stepping on their throats, and they just couldn't finish the deal. And that was the case a year ago, I want to say, where it was the Knicks and the Pacers, and the Pacers stole game 1, and the Knicks were never able to rebound. So we'll talk more about that series in a little bit here. But yeah, I mean, God, I was watching game 1, and just there was moments where you thought the Thunder won the game, then you thought the Spurs won the game, then it goes to overtime. There was a moment where Victor Wembanyama is guarding Chet Holmgren underneath the rim, and he just lets Shai Gilgeous-Alexander walk right by him because if you leave Chet Holmgren open, then he could just dunk that. There was moments where Holmgren and Wembanyama were going back and forth with each other, just dunking on each other or blocking shots. But Victor Wembanyama, in my opinion, and we didn't really talk about this enough after his performance against the Timberwolves. I think it was almost 2 weeks ago now, where he had 39 points and I think it was 20 rebounds, whatever it was, maybe 17. But he is, in my opinion, the best player in all of basketball right now. I don't think it's even close. I think there's great players in this league, but no one can match his physical dominance at, was it 7'3", and his ability to block shots, get rebounds, and, oh, by the way, shoot three-pointers in a similar fashion to Steph Curry. I don't think we've seen a player like this in quite some time, where he's a mix of Spurs legends Tim Duncan and David Robinson. It's just unbelievable what the guy can do, and I don't think anybody will forget that performance he had in Game 1. Tonight, not as much juice, but you kind of anticipated that, where OKC can't go down 0-2 on their home court. So, Caruso had a great performance in Game 1, 30 points. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, not an efficient night in Game 1. I think he was 7 of 23, but tonight he finishes with 30 points. All-around better effort. And it's amazing tonight that the Thunder win 122-113 in regulation, when in Game 1, the Spurs won 122-115 in double overtime. So that showed you just the defensive slugfest that was going on between those two teams. But yeah, man, I think that I think Warriors fans watching this game, their reaction had to be, how the fuck do we compete with both of these teams? Like, it's just going to be damn near impossible, in my opinion, where you have the youth, you have the veteran presence of certain guys on both rosters, obviously Caruso and Harvenstein. But then you had on the Spurs side, it's De'Aaron Fox coming over from the Kings, and also Harrison Barnes. But really, it is the youth of both teams and the coaching of both teams, and Mark Daigneault and Mitch Johnson. And I just don't know if the Warriors could do anything this offseason to compete with the likes of those teams right now. And Steve Kerr said as much during the regular season. I just think it's going to be a tall order, where maybe if you get a Giannis, you could be in, the conversation of contending in the Western Conference, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think you get even older with LeBron James. You get even older with Kawhi Leonard. So my thoughts watching that game, and I'm happy that Steve Kerr's back, but we had these conversations already with the Thunder. I don't know how the Warriors are going to compete with the Spurs going forward with the youth on their side.
I think they're closer to competing with the Thunder next year than they are with the Spurs. And I understand that the Thunder have just been amazing, and, they're defending and they have the reigning MVP and all these things, but the size of Wembanyama and his skill set, the Warriors they don't have anybody on their roster, and they won't have anybody on their roster who can contend with that, who can stop that. And at least with the Thunder, you don't have, an absolute laboratory experiment basically playing for you. Like, they created Wemby in a lab, and the Thunder don't have that. They have a great basketball team, don't get me wrong, but there is no answer for Wemby. So even though the Thunder are technically probably the better team, it's easier for the Warriors to at least match up with them from just a basketball standpoint than it will be with the Spurs, because just who does have an answer for Wemby across the entire league? I mean, like, Hartenstein did really good tonight. He played really well for the Thunder in spots against Wemby, and it was still Wemby getting a double-double. I mean, it wasn't 40 points, but he still had a double-double with 21 points or whatever he had. So I don't know. This is tough. It's tough for the Warriors. Even if they did get a Giannis, like, that would help, but I don't know what the help is against the Spurs team, especially as they gain a little bit more experience heading into next season.
Yeah, and Hardenstein, not Harvenstein, like I said earlier. But yeah, I think that, I don't know, Alon, I don't think that the Warriors have anything to look forward to as far as youth. Like, yes, they have scrappy guys, and I say the same names all over, over and over again: Pat Spencer and Quinton Post and Guy Santos. But those guys are supporting players. They don't have any role guys, in my opinion, or like not role guys, but like impact players that'll take them to the next level. So that's the first thing I think of. But honestly, it's just good basketball right now, where you could say that the NBA playoffs this year have been kind of hit or miss, where yes, series have gone the distance to seven games, but have they been competitive. That Game 7 that happened last Sunday between the Pistons and Cavs, that was over real early. And I hate these blowouts. I love the competitive nature of this Western Conference Finals already. And, you kind of anticipate that with the history of these two teams, the regular season. So I think the Thunder have a formidable foe right now in the Western Conference. And also the Thunder went to 7 games a year ago, too, in the NBA Finals against the Pacers. And, of course, Tyrese Halliburton tore his Achilles. I want to say they were pushed to 7 in the second round against the Nuggets, and then I forget how long the series went against the Timberwolves. But the Thunder are beatable. You and I made our picks before the series started, so we'll reveal those real quick. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't think the Warriors can match up with these two teams right now with the youth on their side. But let's get to that real quick. So Alon, you and I picked these series. You have the Thunder winning in 6. I have the Thunder winning in 7. But I was kind of on the fence about the Spurs. I thought that maybe the Spurs could win this series. But the more and more I thought about it, the more I'm like, just the experience of the Thunder here is going to be the determining factor. But it goes to show, like, even without De'Aaron Fox in these first 2 games, the Spurs have held their own. And that's you should probably have the mentality with the way that they've played them in the regular season, the Spurs against the Thunder. But yeah, so you have the Thunder winning in 6. I have the Thunder winning in 7. And then in the Eastern Conference, Alon, I have the Knicks winning in 5, and you have the Knicks winning in 7. And we were waiting on you to get some hot sauce, but unfortunately you're out tonight.
I am out. I thought I had some hot sauce. I thought I had some good habanero, like hot sauce from Yucatan, but I do not. So I will have to pick some up for Sunday so I can pay up. But yeah, those are our picks. I mean, the Thunder, after watching tonight, I'm like, okay, 6, they can still do it, but dropping that, going into double OT and dropping Game 1 is really rough for them. As far as the Knicks go, I think they are going to have a hard time with this series because they might have a tough time putting the Cavs away, but I don't know. With the way the Cavs blew that, this could be 5 games, like you said, Derek.
Yeah, I think that they missed their opportunity, the Cavaliers, to steal Game 1. And I changed my pick because I think at the beginning of the year, me and Steven, I think Steven was with me when we're doing our NBA preview. I picked the Cavs and the Thunder to make it to the finals. But after last night's victory for the Knicks to be down 22 in the fourth quarter and go on an 18-1 run, I got to go with the Knicks. And the Knicks are the better team. They should win this series. They have more talent with Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. The Cavaliers, it's funny, both of these coaches are former Warriors assistants, and Kenny Atkinson and Mike Brown. So they're both coached very well. And the Cavaliers last year, I think, had a 64-win season and then got eliminated in the second round by the Pacers. We'll see what happens this offseason. They're in the mix for LeBron, but I think they're a young, really good team in the Cavaliers. But I think this is the Knicks' time. And Donovan Mitchell, his pass with the Jazz back in the day, never getting to the conference finals. Excuse me, God, allergies kicking my ass lately for the last 2 weeks, actually, with my voice and sneezing. Anyway, Donovan Mitchell never having reached the conference finals with the Jazz, finally getting there with the thank you, Otis Bird saying bless you in the chat. Finally getting to the Eastern Conference Finals with the Cavaliers. But, yeah, I won't be the least bit surprised if the Cavs win this series. But after last night, I think that they'll be hard to come back from. As I said, like a year ago when the Pacers, I want to say it was a shot that Tyrese Halliburton, maybe it was the series against the Cavaliers, but I think the Pacers stole Game 1, and then the Knicks just never were able to rebound. Same thing with the previous series where the Pacers, I want to say, went up 2-0 in Cleveland to win that series. I don't think they swept them, but I think it went like 5 or something. So after you have that, where you're up 22 in the fourth quarter and you blow that lead and blow that game, it's kind of like when the Warriors beat the Spurs with Kawhi, and Kawhi got hurt with Zaza landing on his ankle, and they were never able to rebound. Of course, Kawhi never came back in that series. Once you get gut punched in Game 1, I think it's hard for that team that lost to find their focus again. So, yeah, I think that the Cavaliers will end up with a win in this series, but I think that, it'll probably go 5 after what happened last night.
Yeah, it's tough. And one thing that the Knicks discovered or decided to employ, and Mike Brown talked about it as well very openly after the game, was that, they sent Jalen right at James Harden. And they realized that he was a defensive liability, and that's what sparked that entire 18-1 run to get them back into the game, was they just went right after Harden at will, and they were just able to put up a lot of points. And, Harden has never been a great defender, but now, especially being older, even when he is trying to defend, it's not a fair matchup for him. And they were completely exposed there. And this is exactly what happened to the Knicks last year against the Pacers, where they were up by 21 or something like that with about 7 minutes, or no, not even. They ended up being up by like 15 with 2 minutes and 48 seconds left, and they ended up, losing the game. Tyrese Halliburton makes that big shot, and that ruined the entire series for the Knicks. So they're able to avenge that this year against the Cavs. And yeah, it's tough for the Cavs to come back. And I don't know what the Knicks' answer is for Donovan Mitchell because he's so good, but I do know that the Knicks probably, or the Cavs probably don't have any answers for either Brunson or Karl Anthony Towns. It just doesn't look like it. And if OG starts shooting well, that's really tough to deal with as well.
No, 100%. I think it was James Harden could not guard Jalen Brunson. He ended up with 38 points last night, and that's just a not good a matchup where James Harden has had defensive moments at times in the postseason, but he's just not a great defender. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be an interesting series, but I think in the end, the Knicks, with their talent, should win this in 5. That's just my opinion. But, yeah, I think obviously the more compelling series is Spurs and Thunder, and I would be very surprised if that did not go the distance. So that's what I'm kind of hoping for, is we get a nice slug match between those two teams. The up-and-coming teams in the Western Conference. Obviously the Thunder established themselves the last 2 years, getting beat by the Dallas Mavericks in the second round 2 years ago, and then last year win the whole damn thing. And the expectation is they'll do it all over again. So, yeah, very fun series. One more than the other, but I'm liking what I'm seeing right now from the Spurs and Thunder. Other news in the NBA real quick, Alon. Not surprising, I guess, but the Dallas Mavericks moved on from Jason Kidd as head coach of the Dallas Mavericks, obviously. And they bring in a new general manager, and he might be the president of basketball operations, but Masai Ujiri, who was with the Toronto Raptors for a good deal of time, and, of course, brought Kawhi Leonard over to the Raptors, won the championship, the NBA Finals against the Warriors back in 2019. He is the new man in charge, and he let go of Jason Kidd. There was rumors that Kidd wanted to move up into the front office, and obviously that did not happen. I didn't know if Ujiri was going to hire him as his second in command, his general manager, but that's not the case. So Jason Kidd moves on from the Dallas Mavericks, and a year and a half after the Luka Doncic trade, everybody's gone from that team that won the West. Doncic, obviously Anthony Davis, Nico Harrison, who made the deal, and now the head coach, Jason Kidd, who there was rumors that maybe he was in favor of the trade, but then he acted like he wasn't. I never know the true story with that whole thing, but yeah, the Mavs cleaned house, and now they have Cooper Flagg going forward, and I guess Kyrie Irving's still on the roster. We'll see when he plays basketball again, but I guess not surprising for Jason Kidd, but I don't know, kind of I don't know, with a guy that got you to the Western Conference Finals years ago and then the NBA Finals just a couple years ago. Interesting move, but they had a pretty bad season just a year ago.
They had a horrible season, but I mean, no Kyrie Irving the entire season. The roster's basically been gutted. Nico Harrison leaves them without one of the best players in the league and their franchise cornerstone at the time in Luka Doncic. And, Masai looks at Jason Kidd and probably looks at the entire organization and just goes, we need to reset here. I feel bad for Jason Kidd because this is not his fault. It's not his fault that they only had 25 or 26 wins or whatever it was this season. It's just, that's what happens when you don't have players, especially in this league. So I can't fault Kidd too much. I think it's a weird move because he has proven to be a good coach. I know his regular season record with the Mavs, I think, is 205 and 205 overall, but you can't discount the fact that he took you to a Western Conference Finals, took you to an NBA Finals, and then you basically pull the rug from out under him with the former GM / president, Nico Harrison, who decided to make one of the worst, weirdest deals in NBA history, in my opinion. So, and not just my opinion, I think everybody thinks that. So, yeah, Jason Kidd will get another coaching job. I don't know what the Mavericks are going to look like over the next couple of years. I mean, it's pretty much Cooper Flag, and if Kyrie ever comes back from his ACL, but yeah, that's not a good situation, and weird that Jason Kidd's going to be fired like that.
Well, Jason Kidd's tenure as Mavericks coach included some weird stuff where they tanked the last game of the regular season where they held out Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. This was the season before they went to the NBA Finals, where Jason Kidd had the quote that always made me laugh: "You can't cheat the game. You go out there and play." And he was saying that with most of his roster sitting that night. So that always I thought was comical. But for the most part, Jason Kidd was a pretty good coach with the Mavericks. You say that he'll coach again, Alon. I'm not so sure about that. I don't know how many chances he's going to have. Like Doc Rivers got plenty of chances off of winning that championship with the Boston Celtics, and of course got jobs with the Clippers, and then who else? The 76 or the Clippers, 76ers, and the Milwaukee Bucks a couple years ago. This is already Jason Kidd's third head coaching gig, where he started with the Brooklyn Nets, and I'll always remember him spilling the drink on the floor just to get a timeout. Not a bad move, not a bad idea, but of course he was fined for that. Then he went to coach, I want to say Giannis's rookie year with the Milwaukee Bucks for just a few seasons, was fired after a few seasons there, and was an assistant coach with the Lakers for a little bit of time. I think LeBron wanted to hire him as the head coach, but then he took the job with the Dallas Mavericks, and he's been there, God, I don't know how long now, so I think it's 2018. But when I saw this news, Alon, the first thing that came to my mind was, well, the Warriors need assistant coaches. And there's been rumors about Willie Green and Andre Iguodala filling those roles that have been vacated by Terry Stotts and Jerry Stackhouse. And I think the rumor is that both guys want to move on and get head coaching gigs. I guess more college for Jerry Stackhouse, but I don't really know what's available at this point. I don't think either guy's going to get a head coaching job, but they just wanted to move on. And it sounded like Joe Lacob wanted to make some changes with the coaching staff there. But if Jason Kidd's available, that's intriguing on many levels because Jason Kidd, a Bay Area guy, growing up in Oakland, went to high school in Alameda, and Cal, right? He went to Cal.
Played at Cal.
Yeah, of course. So I don't know if Jason Kidd lives here in the offseason, but my pops the other day actually told me that he used to train with the Warriors back in the day when he was at Cal because he was just a, highly coveted prospect coming out of college. So he would, practice with Mully and Nelly and everybody from the Warriors back in the day, run TMC. And it's just weird to me that, Jason Kidd, Bay Area guy, has never done anything with the Warriors. So would he be interested in that? Would he be interested in being the number 2 to Steve Kerr, knowing that Steve Kerr is going to walk away eventually? And then Jason Kidd could be that guy that takes over a contender or a rebuild. And I think he'd be down for either. But now that he's available, that's a very intriguing option, I think, for the Warriors. I don't know if that's the route they'll go, but because maybe they already had a plan in place when they were not going to renew the contracts of Terry Stotts and Jerry Stackhouse. But now that Jason Kidd's available, I should say, that's something I would be open to for the Golden State Warriors.
This is exactly what I was thinking when I was saying I think he'll get a head coaching job again. That would be my primary way of him getting a head coaching job again, would be to elevate him as that number 2 in command if he takes a job under Steve Kerr and if the Warriors are willing to do that. And then you elevate him into the head coaching role, regardless of what happens with the season results, right? So that's the way I would look at it. And you have a guy with experience who has respect of players, and I think would – at the very least be a good fit after having a year of continuity with the organization. So I would be all on board with that. Hire Jason Kidd as an assistant, have him be the coach in waiting. Once Steve leaves, boom, Jason Kidd has the job, and then you see how you stack up there. But I would think that's It's as close to a plug and play option as you could get with the head coaching role for the Warriors.
Yeah, no, I'd be down for that move. We'll see what happens. Not a lot of movement lately on, I should say just any rumors about who could be next. Obviously, there is the rumor of Willie Green and Andre Iguodala, but I think that was just kind of floated out there. I want to say by Tim Kawakami on his podcast, but nothing I've heard with other names out there. So now that Jason Kidd is available, he might be in the mix. Who knows? But yeah, we'll see what happens with the Warriors offseason as we get past the NBA playoffs and, of course, the NBA Finals. Moving over to football real quick, and this is the portion of the podcast where I'm sure we're going to lose Rock the New Era. But I was going to bring it up, and again, I'm not as into it as I was a year ago. But while I was scarfing down some gyros and some saganaki and some lucamates at the Greek Festival, the Oakland Greek Festival, this past Saturday. And my man, Stephen Langford, of course, was there with new baby Miles. And I'll tell everybody in the chat here real quick, just a little baby update. I revealed on the KBR show Dirty Work that Jesse Langford, Stephen's wife, was joking around in a group text saying, like, everybody can hold the baby except for Derek. And I was like, I'll be damned. I'll be damned if I'm not going to hold my new nephew in Miles Langford. And just a delightful baby. So held the baby, got to know Miles, and sure enough, while I'm holding the baby, get a little notification on the text message or notification on my phone, and turn to Steven. I say, Steven, good to see you, man. Good seeing your baby. I got to leave though. He goes, why you got to go? I'm like, well, Aaron Rodgers just signed. I got to do an emergency podcast. And he was like, oh God, I miss those fucking days. And yeah, he was joking, obviously. But Aaron Rodgers signed on Saturday, 1 year, $25 million. No surprise there. A little more than what he got a year ago, but this was not anything that was shocking. There was rumors about him being in the Pittsburgh area for the last 2 weeks or whatever it was, getting ice cream. And all offseason, we were anticipating this. It was the same playbook as we saw a year ago with the Steelers waiting and not trying to do anything in the media to, piss off Aaron from coming to Pittsburgh. But you had to believe with Mike McCarthy and their familiarity from back in the day that Aaron Rodgers will be showing up. The fact that they got Michael Pittman and signed other guys this offseason made me believe that they were going to bring him back. So no surprise. We'll talk about it a little bit more just as far as what does this mean for Aaron, as today he said this is the last year he's going to play in the NFL. But to me, Alon, I feel the same way as I did a year ago. It's a better team than what the Steelers were a year ago, in my opinion. They went, 10-7 and won the AFC North. But I think at best, the Ravens got a little better this offseason with Trey Hendrickson. The Bengals got a whole hell of a lot better with some of the defensive additions they made with Dexter Lawrence and Boye Mafe, Jonathan Allen. So I think at best, the Steelers probably finished third in the division. I think it's a nice ending to Rodgers' career to team up with McCarthy again, but I'm not anticipating a whole hell of a lot.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect from the Steelers. I do know after Aaron Rodgers leaves, they're kind of screwed. It's going to be very hard to fill that position. But the first weird thing about this is I don't ever like it when a guy says, this is my last season before training camp, before the season even starts. I think that's so not good. I don't think things usually end well for the team when that's announced already, especially by your leader. In this case, it's Aaron Rodgers. I understand why he did that, though. He probably doesn't want to be asked for it for the entire season about it, and I totally get that. But at the end of the day, he's 42 years old. I know they've gotten better at certain spots, and he's going to have more receiver help. But 10 wins again, maybe. But I think the Bengals should be, if they're able to stay healthy, the juggernaut of the division. I mean, the Bengals should be the best team in that division. It's no offense to the Ravens. I just think Joe Burrow's that good, and if he can stay healthy and they can protect him this much, they might have a chance to go back to a Super Bowl. But yeah, good for Aaron Rodgers, good for the Steelers. It seemed like this was going to happen the entire time, especially with McCarthy there. So, no real big surprise. It's not like years past, but I just wonder what does the fire in someone look like? And I'm not questioning Aaron's competitiveness. He's always been a competitor, But there's a big difference between knowing this is your last time and telling everybody that and then kind of waiting for it. So if he already knows that he's done playing after this season, I just want to know what the hell that looks like during the season. Is he going to be as, fired up to really go for this, to make a deep run? Are we going to get some magical ending where he has maybe kind of like that last season he had in Green Bay? I don't know, which would have been a great time to call a career for him. To be honest, was that after that last season in Green Bay and then after the first season with the Jets.
Well, he wasn't going to go out like that, though. When the team that drafts you says you're not good enough for us, you're not good enough for us anymore, he's like, well, I'm not going to retire. And once the Jets, went all in to get him, it kind of, rejuvenates you. You kind of feel like, oh, wow, okay, like I'm wanted again. Like, this new girl thinks I'm cute. And even though, this girl hasn't been really pretty since 1968, and of course I'm using this ridiculous analogy with the Jets here, but the fact that Woody Johnson and Robert Saleh and his guy, Nathaniel Hackett, were all flying into Malibu to wine and dine him, putting like the full court press on him to be like, sign with us, or not sign with us, but like accept the trade and come play with us. That, I'm sure, like puts a pep in his step. So he wasn't going to retire after that. And he was playing fine that season. But then, the Jets, they were coming off a really good season, not a really good season, but a promising season where the defense had select Quentin Williams and Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson. I think both guys were rookies of the year, Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner. So, Rodgers coming into that should be a good formula for success, but it wasn't. He tore his Achilles 5 snaps into the season. They were a mess with Zach Wilson all over again. And then Rodgers comes back, a lesser quarterback, but still looked, fine for the most part, maybe later in the season, but the Jets were just a shit show. And Rodgers didn't gel with Robert Saleh, and he wasn't going to go out like that either. So signing with the Steelers and a head coach that he respects and Mike Tomlin made a whole hell of a lot of sense. And that's just the Steelers' MO, where I really was hoping for that they were going to rebuild this offseason. But some franchises, like the Giants, San Francisco Giants, don't do rebuilds. And that frustrates the hell out of the fans. I heard it all today after they got swept by the Arizona Diamondbacks. When the Steelers announced that they were going to hire Mike McCarthy as head coach, I saw all the reaction on Twitter where it's like, what the hell are they doing? What are they doing? And I felt the same way, where I was kind of anticipating Chris Shula to be their next head coach, the defensive coordinator of the Rams. I think he's 38 years old, and their history shows that they hire young defensive coordinators, whether it's Chuck Noll or Bill Cowher or Mike Tomlin, but they never do rebuilds. They've had shitty seasons in the past, but coming off a 10-win season for the Steelers, they're like, let's do it all over again. Let's run it back. And I think some fans are like, are we settling for mediocrity? What happened to this franchise that used to, be the dominant team of the NFL, to be the steel curtain, to has 6 Lombardis? The Steelers have now kind of settled for, let's just be competitive, and we're always going to be in it. But is having Aaron Rodgers back really being competitive? Yes, it is, but you're not going to compete with the upper echelon teams of the AFC. But then again, the AFC, the teams that we saw a year ago, the Patriots and the Broncos, I don't know if they're legit. So maybe they see an opportunity there, or maybe they see an opportunity in the AFC North. I'm with you, Alon, on the Bengals. Joe Burrow came out today being interviewed at OTA saying, we have everything we need right now. Like, this is no more, he didn't say this, but like basically he was insinuating that I'm not going to complain anymore. I got what I wanted. I got my 2 wide receivers paid, and I got defensive players. So there's no excuses. But for the Steelers, the Bengals, they haven't been in the playoffs since, 2022, when the Ravens have a rookie head coach. They see an opportunity here. I just think their fan base is so tired of the same old 9-8, 10-7 win seasons that really don't amount to nothing in the end, or anything, I should say, double negative. But yeah, I think that Aaron Rodgers, with the way things ended a year ago, getting pummeled in that playoff game against the Houston Texans, I think it was like 30-6, and his last pass was a pick 6. Rodgers ain't going out like that, and I think that we'll talk more about this, but I think that he likes the idea of coming back to the Steelers, an organization that he respects, and making amends a little bit with his first head coach Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a good ending for for Aaron Rodgers. McCarthy is probably going to still coach for the Steelers after at least a year after Rodgers is gone, I would assume.
Oh, yeah. The Steelers don't move on from head coaches,
no.
so yeah.
And the reason I say that too is because if there was ever a time where it would be with like a McCarthy, who's not a young guy. He's not a spring chicken.
Right.
But I would expect him to at least be there for another 3 or 4 years as a minimum. But the Steelers, the last time they had a losing season, and everybody in the chat, you can think about this because I had to think about it today before looking it up.
Can I guess, Alon? Or go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to give it away, but I'm just going to say I had to look it up, and I was close, but I wasn't right. So what do you think, Derek?
The last losing season for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I want to say, was 2003.
You are dead on the money.
Yeah.
It was 2003. They went 6-10. I thought it was 2006 where they went 8-8, but no, it was 2003. They went 6-10. 2006 was when they were coming off the Super Bowl with Cowher. So I was like, oh, I think they had a Super Bowl slump, but it was good enough. It was a good enough slump where it was 8-8, but it's been 23 years just about since they've had a losing season. And I think that's a lot of pressure for that ownership group, for everybody who works for that organization. It's like, hey, we just don't do losing seasons around here.
Yeah.
But when you have out of the last 6 years, you've lost in the wild card 5 times. What opportunity is that giving you to get better? And that's what's been missing with the Steelers, right? It's been how can you get better and younger? And they're always drafting around the middle to late part of the draft. So it's very difficult to build your team up. And then they're not always the biggest free agency spenders either. So yeah, they're plugging the hole they tried it with Wilson. Now they're doing it with Rodgers. I would say, however this ends with Rodgers here, they have to have some form of reset and not shield that 23-year, no losing season streak. That can't be a priority because I think organizationally that is how they act. And that's not a bad thing. They're always competitive. They're darn near almost always making the playoffs, but is a wild card loss really that important to a fan base who expects Super Bowls, right? So it's a fan base that wants Super Bowls, that wants to win again. And they've just kind of been like the upper echelon of average, right? It's kind of like the A's. It's what the A's had done for so long in terms of just, hey, competitive enough to get to the playoffs and then get bounced. Pittsburgh at least has the wallet to pay some people, but they don't always do that. So yeah, this could be a ride off into the sunset moment if things end well for Rodgers. And about your point regarding the Patriots, as well as the Broncos and some of the other teams in the AFC, they might view them not as a real, bona fide contenders. They might be pretenders in the Steelers' mind. And if you can get one great run out of Rodgers, then you can beat anybody because we know Rodgers at his best, even if just for a couple of games towards the end of the season, is going to be better than just about any quarterback in the NFL. But the question is, are you going to get his best at 42 years old? That's what I wonder about. They have to be able to protect him. And new coaching staff. I mean, everything's going to be different. So we'll see if they're able to bring some of that Green Bay magic for one season here to Pittsburgh.
Well, yeah, the Steelers are definitely run very differently than where they were just a few years ago. With I think it was Kevin Colbert was the GM there, and Omar Khan runs things a little more, I say, aggressively in free agency and trades. We saw a year ago where they traded for Jalen Ramsey, and obviously they signed Aaron Rodgers. They also get Jonnu Smith in that trade. This offseason, they went out and traded for Michael Pittman, the wide receiver from the Colts. They get Jaquan Brisker, the safety from the Bears, Rico Dowdle, running back from the Carolina Panthers and Dallas Cowboys. That's how Mike McCarthy knows him. But the way that the Rooneys have run things for the Steelers, I just don't think it translates to today's NFL. And they kind of run like an old mom and pop shop a little bit. And, there's a lot of great history with that organization, the lineage of, all the Rooneys, I think Art Rooney the first, passing it down to his sons and everything. So they run things a certain old school way, and they've changed a lot this offseason, being aggressive in free agency and trades, hiring a first-time offensive coach in their team's history with Mike McCarthy, and him being, 60 years old, older than that. So we'll see how long he's there. And when you get a coach like that, it's not like, all right, well, we want you to rebuild everything. Like, no, they want to win. So I don't know if they have the next quarterback in waiting in Drew Aller or Will Howard. They keep saying that, like all the insiders keep saying, like that's the next quarterback. And maybe that's why they brought in Mike McCarthy to be that QB guru. But yeah, no, I don't really have high hopes for them this season. I think that Aaron Rodgers gives them a chance, but Super Bowl contenders, no. I think it's the same deal as we've seen in the past, where 10-7, 9-8 might be a playoff team, but not anything that's going to equate to a deep playoff run for them. And just as far as Rodgers and McCarthy teaming up, I remember when that divorce happened. It was in 2018, and the Packers were having a pretty bad season. They lost early Sunday game against the Arizona Cardinals, and that's the Josh Rosen Arizona Cardinals that only won 3 games that year. Then they swept the Niners and beat the Green Bay Packers. And later that day, while we're watching the 4 o'clock kickoffs, you get like a little notification on the bottom of the screen, Mike McCarthy fired. And Aaron Rodgers didn't really, put up a stink with that or go to the media and say, like, I can't believe that after all this time, my first head coach, the guy that taught me everything in this league, won a Super Bowl with, is gone. He was kind of in favor of it. And then you heard, reports after that he didn't like Mike McCarthy. He thought he was a buffoon. And, he never really did anything, I thought, to kind of refute all of that. I think that he might have, but I don't like. I think that he just come out. I think like Aaron Rodgers that got to the point of his career where he was like, I'm not going to react to every single thing that's written about me. Like I had to react to Greg Jennings calling me out years ago. I'm not going to come out and say that I love Mike McCarthy. Maybe there's some truth to that, but the fact that both men are willing to put aside their differences and end their careers, more so Rodgers, with a reunion, I kind of like. That happens in life. I heard my guy John Middlecoff talk about it on his podcast, where if you had success with somebody early in life and then you have a bad breakup and you go through different things, it's easy to reconcile later on. Like great comedy duos. Like this is not going to be a great analogy, but like Mike Myers and Dana Carvey having their differences, during SNL and Wayne's World, and then becoming good friends. Keenan and Kel reunited. So why can't McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers reunite as well? And yeah, as soon as he got hired as head coach, I figured that he would find a way to convince Aaron Rodgers to, not retire and still play for them. So I kind of like it. You don't really see that a lot. Like Tom Brady was never going to reunite with Bill Belichick. So, and not to say that they had the same success or anything. It was only one Super Bowl and a lot of playoff failures. But kind of nice that Aaron Rodgers ends his career with the coach that made him, the Super Bowl and the MVP winning quarterback that he is today.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the ultimate way of saying, hey, let's let bygones be bygones is what Aaron Rodgers is doing, coming back to Pittsburgh with Mike McCarthy as the head coach. If they really did have a problem, if Aaron really did have a deep problem with McCarthy being his head coach, he wouldn't come back. He would sit out a year even probably and then say, I still want to play one more year. But this would be a nice ending for Aaron Rodgers. I hope it goes well because he's been such a phenomenal player to watch over the span of his career. And it hasn't been fun. It wasn't fun, those Jets years, seeing that go on. And yeah, the first year in Pittsburgh was a 10-7 season, but at least it was closer to the old Rodgers. So if he could just tap into some of that old greatness one last time, I think it would be really fun just as a football fan. In terms of them being a Super Bowl contender, I mean, they would need the real Aaron Rodgers to please stand up. They would need that, and I just don't think that's what they're going to get.
Yeah, me neither. But you know what? I'm cool with Aaron Rodgers, still playing. I enjoy watching him play. Whatever with the Pat McAfee stuff, I could care less. I think it's admirable that he's still playing in the league at 43 years old. So good on him. And yeah, I just don't have a lot of high hopes for them, but I kind of like it when I think the NFL is better when Aaron Rodgers is still playing. So that's just me. I know some people are over it. I heard Michael Wilbon on Get Up the other day being like, this isn't a big deal. Who cares? I get it. You know what? No, I do like Michael Wilbon a lot. I do. I think that I like that he kind of, it was more so him crapping on his own network with how much they talk about it. It wasn't so much that he's hating on Aaron Rodgers. It's just like, this isn't really that big of a story. So I appreciate Michael Wilbon when he gets, get off my lawn and goes after his own network on the stories that they think is relevant. The only thing he said is that Aaron Rodgers is irrelevant these days. And I'm like, he's not irrelevant. It's just that he's talked about way too much where we wait and wait and wait. And, if he's going to come back or not. And we live in a different era than where we were 20 years ago when that was the case with Brett Favre. Now we live in a 24/7 news cycle of, and NFL Network was around back then too, Scott Hansen winning on Brett Favre's front lawn back in the day. But now we have Twitter. Now we have, podcasts that talk about this all the time. So it is nauseating. I 100% get it why a year ago me bringing it up over and over and over again was annoying. But just make a decision already, Aaron. So, yeah, not really anticipating a whole hell of a lot with Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I'm willing to watch it. Lastly, Alon, this actually broke a couple of hours before we hopped on here. Old LSU head coach Ed Orgeron going back to the Tigers. How about them Tigers? Go Tigers. He's teaming up with his former friend, or not former friend, but former they used to coach together back at USC. Lane Kiffin is bringing him on as a recruiter once again. He's going to help with the defense. Weird thing with Ed Orgeron, obviously winning a national championship with the LSU Tigers, but then being told, hey, go away. And now he's back on the coaching staff in a lesser role with a friend of his, Lane Kiffin.
It was a booster decision for him to be shown the door at LSU for Ed Orgeron. And there's a lot of stuff people can look up around that story and see what they think is true and what's not. But very odd that a school, look, Ed Orgeron's great at recruiting, and I think he's a pretty darn good coach. So good decision by them, by LSU, and by Lane Kiffin to bring him onto the staff. It's so weird, though. A former national champion coach at the same school now coming on, not being the coach, and he's going to be some type of special recruiting assistant. It's absolutely wild. But LSU just spending that money, they're going to do whatever they want. They feel like they got their guy in Lane Kiffin. And so I don't know. Good for Edo. I hope to see him coaching again one day, but maybe he'll be the coach after Lane Kiffin eventually leaves for a better job again.
Yeah, that could be the case. I remember Ed Orgeron doing an interview, I think with some Arkansas Razorback boosters, where he told the whole story about LSU coming to him being like, one day they want, they offer me, however much money it was, like a significant amount. He's like, you want me out? I'll get out the next day. And now he's willing to come back. And I think he just wants to be a part of college football. So good on Ed Orgeron. I forget all the details of why he had to go away. Was there a whole thing with college girls there, Alon? I heard rumors about it.
I don't think it was college girls. I think it was just I forget. I don't know all the details.
I probably shouldn't bring that up. I thought it was a rumor, but maybe that's not legitimate.
I do want to show something though, Derek, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
This is a post I saw the other day, which I thought was very, very funny, and it does have to do with LSU.
Okay.
If I knew how to screen share, there we go. So we just have a little graph here, a little graphic. LSU and the nation of Gambia population. You can see the difference there. Football championships, obviously LSU with 4, Gambia none. Final 4 appearances, LSU with way more. Tiger versus a scorpion. Tiger's bigger. We have the presidents, but then we have ode to coaches on the left for LSU and the operating budget of an entire country with 2.4 million people, and LSU is actually spending more. So LSU is spending more on just coaches than Gambia spent in 2024 on everything they did as a nation.
Well, I'll be damn.
And that number's going up with Ed Orgeron now because that's just another staff member.
Well, there you go. LSU putting Gambia to shame. So there you go. Ed Orgeron back in college football. Lastly, before we get out of here, Rashee Rice, man, hell of a week for him. So he got some surgery done on his knee, and he's going to be out for about 2 months. Now, that's not that big of a deal because, they're not playing football today, so he's going to miss OTAs, and by the time training camp rolls around, he'll be good to go probably. But Rashee Rice violated his parole, and he, I guess, got caught smoking a J, failed a drug test, and now has to do 30 days in jail, fresh off of getting that knee repaired. So while he's having to, elevate that knee up in a jail cell, he's got to do that right now. That sucks. And I'm sure that, I guess Adam Schefter went on Pat McAfee this morning and said, had he known that he would be thrown in jail if he violated his parole, then he would not have done the knee surgery, which is an awkward thing. Like, I don't know if he's getting, the treatment that he deserves, or I don't know what he deserves at this point. I mean, obviously he's done some bad things in the past with the street racing and leaving the scene of the crime. But yeah, just a weird deal for Rashee Rice, who I guess already served his time in the NFL as far as a suspension a year ago. So he'll play football this year. But yeah, kind of a weird deal where he's recovering from knee surgery and has to do it while in prison for 30 days.
Yeah, I do feel bad for Rashee Rice, because I think multiple things can be true at the same time on this. Like, Rashee Rice has made his mistakes with the way he was driving, the street racing, reckless driving, stuff like that, accident, getting into a car wreck accident. But then also the fact that it's a violation of his parole to have THC in his system. I mean, give me a freaking break, right? I mean, this is... we're not at the point in the country yet where it's legalized, federally legalized everywhere. So that's why this is the way it is. But I mean, come on, he's got to spend 30 days for this. I mean, they couldn't figure out a way to put him on. I don't think there should be any penalty for this, but they couldn't figure out a way to put him on house arrest for it. He's getting surgery and then has to go do surgery rehab, basically in prison, in jail, in county jail. It's a bad look all around for everybody involved, but I don't think he deserves this at all. I mean, just because you smoked a joint or a blunt, whatever he had, like, give me a freaking break. It's so ridiculous.
No, I'm with you on that, Alon. Now that you say it like that, it does kind of not make sense, where it's a little overboard. Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I it is part of what happened a year ago. I think maybe it was 2 years ago. I think it was right after the Super Bowl when they won it, where he was caught joyriding, street racing, actually I should say, where he's racing a friend of his. He gets into a car accident, impacts other people, injures other people, leaves the scene of the crime with a J in the dashboard, or the cup holder or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's a little much for just smoking a J, but it is part of his parole. So that's a little unfortunate for him, but also I don't feel incredibly sorry for him, just because he's an NFL player and kind of comes with the territory, and it's also just the territory of being a human being sometimes, where you get punished like that. You got to be on the up and up. So not the end of the world. 30 days in jail. He'll be fine, and he'll also be fine with the injuries. So yeah, Rashee Rice, more drama with him. That's all I got for tonight. Alon, anything else?
I hope they're friendly to him in jail. I mean that. I mean, like, he's going to have one leg.
Yeah, that's true.
I would just, I'm just saying, like, jail is already kind of maybe a dangerous place, and having one leg probably makes it worse.
No, I'm with you. It's not gonna be a Shawshank thing. No, he's not in prison. He's in jail. He's in county jail, and he's an NFL player. I'm sure he'll get fine treatment. Yeah, it's not the ideal situation where I'm sure he's gonna be like in a walking boot, or no, I mean, like with a knee injury, I actually don't know what you're walking around in, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah. I hope it goes well. I hope they give him good food too, because jail food, from what I've heard, not great.
No. I'm sure it's not as good as what he's getting at the Chiefs facility, but yeah, I'm sure he'll be fine for 30 days. He can deal with it.
That's all I got, Derek. The only other thing I wanted to say was going into the next game, because Friday is when the Spurs and Thunder are going to tip off again. Do you think? I wanted to add a little hot sauce challenge here. Do you think the Spurs will have more or less than 20 turnovers?
Less, because De'Aaron Fox will be back in the lineup, I'm assuming.
Okay, I'm gonna go with the over. I think this trend continues for the Spurs.
Well, what is it? I want to say Stephon Castle alone in back-to-back games has a total of 18 turnovers.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, he can't be running point for them. Where he's played great, but also just been a problem with the turnovers right now. So once they get De'Aaron Fox back, I think they'll kind of settle things down a little bit. I would say the under on that one. And I don't know what the timeline is. What's the injury with De'Aaron Fox right now?
They said they're expecting him to play in this series, but I mean, I don't know what exactly that means. I mean, they made the final announcement. He's got an ankle injury. I don't think it's a high ankle. I think it's just a regular ankle like sprain or injury like that.
Yeah.
But they haven't. They wanted to wait. They waited very late for today's game to announce whether he would be active or not, and then they made the announcement that he would be out. So I would think he'll be playing back in San Antonio at the latest game 4, but I'm not sure.
Well, we'll see what happens this weekend. And Alon, you lucked out, my friend. I'm going to be out of town this weekend, so no show for us. I'm actually going to Kansas City with a couple of college buddies. I'm going to be going to Kauffman Stadium to watch a little Royals action. I don't even know who they're playing this weekend. But yeah, going to go to Kansas City, going to get some barbecue. I'm meeting up with my my old friends from Texas. So no show this weekend. So you dodged the hot sauce for at least a week, my friend.
Awesome. Are you going to go? So you're going to a Royals game. Are you going to go to the Negro League Museum as well, or no? I don't know if you're there with a bunch of sports fans or not.
Probably not. I went when I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you're going to do like a Glenna Kuiper joke there.
No.
I know. I'm kidding. I went there when I was a kid. And I met Buck O'Neil, which was awesome. But yeah, no, I don't think we have plans to do that while we're there. So I'm just going to go to Kauffman Stadium to watch a little Royals baseball. I'm trying to see who they play this weekend. They are playing. I think the Royals. Yeah, they're 10 games below 500. Jesus, so they're just the same boat as the Giants right now. Playing the Mariners. And the Mariners are below 500 right now. What's going on with the AL right now? So we're gonna do some barbecue. I think we're hitting up a jazz museum. And yeah, I think that's what I'm not sure exactly what all the plans are, but that's my weekend in Kansas City.
That sounds badass, man. That sounds really fun. And no, I was not going for some, low-hanging Bay Area joke. No.
Don't worry.
But yeah, no, barbecue's supposed to be amazing. I've heard Kansas City's incredible, so have fun.
No, I will, and we'll be back Wednesday, and I believe that's when I'll have my Google Fiber internet finally hooked up. Had to handle some stuff this morning, so I had to cancel the appointment. But I think a week from now, next Wednesday, I'll have it all hooked up. So we'll do that next week. Just your opinion, man. Next Wednesday at our usual time, a little later tonight to react to the Spurs and Thunder. And we'll see where the series is at once we return next week. To everybody in the chat, thanks to Rocka New Era. Thanks to Ernie One. Thanks to Otis Bird is the word. Thanks to who else is in here? I think AJ Cruz was in here initially, and then he couldn't wait any longer. Such an impatient man, that AJ Cruz. I think that's it. All right, buddy. We'll see you guys next week on Wednesday. Alon, say what you always say, my friend.
Hey, Michael Wilbon might not think that Aaron Rodgers is a big deal, but that's just his opinion, man.